Perfect. Perfect. And there you have it. The old tie rod and rack end are out. So these are likely going to end up in the race car when it gets to this S13 coilover conversion, which isn't today. I want to drive that thing as a bucket of crap for a little while longer until I put some nice parts on it. When I say nice, I mean nice, very relative term. Anyway, so just make sure there's no crud on your shaft or anything like that. Maybe put a bit of oil in there if you really feel like it, but I'm just going to throw that other one back in, put the boot on, and then hook it back up to here, and it's all done. And this is what I meant by the flat sections on the rack end. So you can get a spanner on there, tighten and loosen it. Makes life way easier than just having a round section. So that is preferable. Okay, so all the steering's hooked up. So pretty much now I just have to get a wheel alignment. So I'm probably going to revisit this because we're not 100% happy with the tie rod ends and everything. I think they're a bit worn out. So they're fine for now, but I want this front end to be pretty solid, so I'll chase up new parts in the future. But steering is relatively straight. I've tried to eyeball the alignment. It's going to be way out. I only have to drive across town, which isn't that far, to get a wheel alignment. So that's no worries. So the last thing to do is put these brake lines on. So I'll probably do that now. It's pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory. Just don't cross thread anything and use flare nut spanners. So I'll throw them on, and then the front end just needs to be bled and it's done. All right, so pretty much here's the setup. So yeah, looks all right. We might be able to dial a little bit more camber into it, or depends. Anyway, it's not a ride height, it's at full drip. So this is the interesting part. So the wheel is obviously quite a way back, so I could put in an adjustable caster arm in the future. But anyway, it spins just fine, so it clears everything. It's just dragging on the brake rotor. But now if we go full lock left, it still spins just fine. So it's not hitting anything, which is good, and there's plenty of clearance to all the arms and everything, because this wheel is pretty skinny. And then if we go full lock right, I'm sure anyone that's played with spacers knows what's about to happen here. We touch on this inner part of the wheel arch. So it actually looks like we've been touching there before, but it's not that severe. So I might just give it a tap with a hammer, tap this bracket flat, just make a bit of clearance, because it's just touching there. So let's see if we can video this. So as we turn the wheel back, you can see it just rubs past that bracket. It's really not that bad. It's quite smooth, but it'll chew up the wheel if I leave it. So I'll just give it a tap with a hammer, and then we should be right. But if I put in an adjustable caster arm, that will pull that, or I can pull that forward a bit, which will recenter the wheel and pull it away from there. But I think this trip I'm going to need to tap it in, just to save me from ripping a hole in the sidewall, or sorry, ripping tread off or whatever. Just better be safe than sorry. Tap that in, sacrilegious, who cares, an old dunger, and we'll keep going. Light tap just through here, flattened out that, it's like the inner guard mounting tab. I'll probably never run an inner guard in this car again, so it doesn't really matter. Just too lazy to take it off. As you can see, the sound deadening stuff or whatever came off a bit, but that's okay. Maybe one day I'll wrap the line under here or something. But anyway, so I'm just going to give it a tap, put the wheel back on, have a test, and give it a tap, have a test, give it a tap, so on and so forth. So it's getting close. And just like that, just a slight tap, it rolls nice and freely, which is good. And you can see that there's a tiny, oh, you can't even see it. Anyway, there's a small gap. What about up underneath? See anything now? Probably not. Whatever. Anyway, there's a gap. I'm sure it'll clearance itself if it doesn't anymore, or we can just stop along the way and give it a clearance on the side of the road or something. So I'll just go and do that to the other side and it should be good. Alright, so I've just opened up the brake line kit from RB Factory, made by Hell Performance Brake Line Kit, or brake lines. Big thanks to RB Factory again. He has done a great job with these. So I got some instructions, be sure to read them and do anything that pertains to your installation. Then rip out your flash new lines, make sure you got the right ones. So these are Nissan R31 Australian domestic market with S14 front calipers, 2 fronts, and then it's the part number. So the S14s and the R32 GTR calipers are almost the same. They've definitely got the same fitting, so that's fine, and they'll be in the same location. So you rip that bad boy out, and ooh-wee, it's going to be the flashiest part on the whole car, I reckon. So the instructions recommend that you fit the brake line to the caliper first and then fit the body mount second with its little clip thing. So that's what I'm going to do. Just make sure all your thread pitches are right, everything's attached properly, everything's clean. You don't want to go screwing dirt into these brand new threads. And you've got this piece here that if your strut has a allowance for it, you can like clip it onto the side sort of thing. This one doesn't, so I just zip tie them into place so that the line doesn't get rubbed by the brake, by the wheel. So these coilovers aren't staying for long. The next set I get will have one of those clippy things so I can put this one in. So I'm just going to get into this and put it in. Alright, so this is the only thing I noticed that is a little bit troublesome with the kit, is that it's a hex design on this bit, is supposed to sit into a bracket off of the chassis that also has provisions to hold that hex in place. And you know, to be fair, I don't really trust those provisions on any car. I usually use vice grips just to hold them, just to be safe, because there's nothing worse than twisting up your line once you've got it in place. So I've just got the vice grips on there to just prevent that from turning, and then using the flare nut spanner, which you can see because it has this shape. Anyway, there's the flare nut spanner. It's an 11mm to tighten it up. So just to make sure, because if it spins, it can do all sorts of bad things. So just holding it to be safe, tightening it up. This side I made the kink sort of face in towards the strut, so I'll be able to zip tie that into place there. Usually they sit about here somewhere, but it will just allow the brake line to stay away from the wheel, which will sit here somewhere, and it will also allow the steering to turn and not bind up on this in any way. So that's how I've installed it, and I'm just going to do the same on the other side, and then it's good to go. Yes, I will change the pads, don't stress. Alright, so I had to get a little creative with the zip ties, so just one around the body of the coilover, and then one around this little retention track in there, so that should all stay together. Just cut the ties off, make sure this is nice and even. It can pull back and forth through that, but it's a little stiff. It should be just fine. And this is the driver's side, you can see, same setup. I should have got my flush cuts. Someone's going to hate me, probably myself, when I carve myself up on all these zip ties that are sharp, but you can see, still moves nice and easily. And yeah, it's all set. Super excited. Alright, as you can see, the ground is still soaking wet, so I was hoping to slam the transmission in today. It's stopped raining for about an hour or so now, so maybe it'll hold out a little longer, but we will see.